Great. Give it like maybe one more minute for any stragglers. Cool. All right. Lisa, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. All right, we can get, I think we're good to get started. So, hey everyone, and thank you all for joining us. And we're excited for our guest who is joining us, Lisa. She's another Triple C Event Camp alum you may recognize. She's agreed to join us and share some of what she's been going through and the things that she's been doing to help drive business during this pandemic. So just a reminder, as always, we encourage this to be an open forum, so don't be shy. We want to hear how everyone is doing and what kind of things like you guys have seen success with as well. So ask questions and share in the chat. If you're really too shy to just jump in, we'll be monitoring that and we'll be sure to bring up anything that we see. So, okay, to get started, Lisa, do you want to kind of give everyone a little bit of background about yourself and how you've been handling everything during COVID?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. It's so great to see so many familiar faces. Thank you so much, Rachel, and to the Triple C team who've been always wonderful and supportive of our event community. I'm sorry if there's any background noise. This is like, I haven't taken any days, like additional days off since this all started. So I'm on the Cape in a private room in this restaurant. So they were nice enough to let me use the space for the call. So my name is Lisa Flores. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Columbus Hospitality Group. We own 7 restaurants, 2 hotels in Boston. We also own a chip company called Mi Niña Tortilla Chips. So they're everywhere. They're in New York. I feel they're all over the East Coast. I'm sure you've tried them before. I'm also the founder and president of SERV, which is the Society for Event Planners Restaurant Venues. We're an educational and networking organization for event planners. So definitely, I think it's been, for those of you who aren't working, I definitely feel for you. It's been a challenging time. It's stressful. The level of uncertainty, going on in our industry, I think is just extreme. And for those of you who are, working and getting into your office, I also definitely know the mental, emotional, and kind of physical taxing space that you're in. It has been quite a challenge. My restaurant group, we kind of knew something was going to happen in that, we had seen other states closing down and we really were like, what can we do that will be effective and, to keep us just kind of running as best as possible and to keep as many people as employed as we could. So once our governor, mandated that the restaurants in Massachusetts had to close down, we were immediately already going into takeout and delivery. So, and please feel free to ask questions or jump in or interrupt me at any time. So, the corporate chef and I actually, had the same idea as to do a Columbus Hospitality Group Classics menu. And that was based on, pulling kind of signature dishes from each of our restaurants that we had closed and then keep one space open to facilitate takeout and delivery. We use delivery, methods such as caviar as well as, Uber Eats or Caviar and DoorDash were like the kind of main delivery options that we used outside of our company. Then we also thought, to offer a butler delivery service. So, we have a driver for one of our restaurants that drives around guests. So he's really well known. And we were also able to retain our general managers of the restaurants. So we kind of had them as our delivery service. So, they, and this is at the time where no one felt safe about takeout and delivery. You didn't want anyone coming to your house. You didn't want to take any containers from anyone. So, our guests, they are, fairly extra, I would say extra high maintenance. So we had the general managers delivering, food to each guest. If they ordered any takeout, a GM would show up and say, here it is. So they had already had that relationship. It was a familiar face coming to the door. It was a general manager who knew the sanitation policies and procedures and were extra safe. So it instantly developed this level of comfort. And we ran, a lot of restaurants we saw close down and then tried to reopen and do takeout at a later time because we were already running at that time. It's been kind of a seamless transition to open up in restaurant dining and continue takeout as well as patio dining. So it's been a really, it's been a great piece. So I think, at the beginning we were so successful because we opened, we just kind of, we never really closed down. We just kind of kept running as an operation as doing takeout and delivery. It's been, really successful. At this point, we've opened up 5 of our restaurants that are larger, that have kind of that space. So we're at the 50% capacity in restaurant dining. And then we've started putting patios anywhere and everywhere we can. They're in valet zones, they're on sidewalks, wherever. I have never seen such a team of come together so quickly to like, we're going to do these lights and we're going to, stencil in our logos on, these big, ugly Jersey barriers and paint them and just get really creative at this point to make sure that, we're trying to bring that proper service outside, and it's a little bit harder. Last night it started to rain at 7:00 and we didn't think it was. So we set up this patio. So literally I'm out there lugging tables with the staff and, linens. It's starting to rain and umbrellas are flying down the street. I'm like, this is kind of our new territory. And it's really kind of, trying to adapt at this point and make sure that we really, survive and just continue as best as we can.
Totally. I think it's so great that you were able to like stay open and like never really close throughout this whole thing. And it's totally right. Like, I think people in the beginning were so afraid of like takeout. Like I had a couple friends, like I would get takeout and my friends would be like, oh, I don't think so. Like I'll eat before I come over, like something weird. So I'm like, okay, like.
They want to Clorox all of the containers. Like, I spent a lot of just Cloroxing things down, but I was, it became like that. And then I was in takeout world. So I'm like, people were being safe.
I feel like the stuff you're going to get from a restaurant is probably cleaner than what you're doing in your kitchen anyway. You know what I mean? Sometimes.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
that's awesome. So I know you've been like kind of getting creative and doing a couple of different things. So I think I'm very curious as to like how you've been able to work with like clients during this time. So like the people who have had to like cancel their events, and I know venues that have had to like refund clients, but like what are some ways that you were able to partner and find something that was like mutually beneficial for the both of you?
At the beginning, it was so stressful because everyone was calling. They wanted their money back instantly. They're trying to cancel events in 2021 in December. Like no one knew it was going to happen. So it became very challenging and I think very stressful at the beginning. And I was part of the takeout operation. So I was like actually, running food out to cars and doing different, getting things set up for the day and the night. But what I did at the beginning, which I think actually really helped, is I took my 5 planners. I had, wedding planners, event planners, corporate planners, people that I had a really strong relationship with. And I got them on Zoom calls. I started calling, checking in and saying, what exactly is going on? What's the temperature gauge? What's going to happen for, what is your company already canceling? So I already kind of started to figure out to get a good read of the companies, knowing that all corporate companies were not going to come in to the office for 2021. So there weren't going to be any events within the restaurant at that time. It was just became a very interesting, like, what are we going to do or how are we going to work together? So I kind of knew at the very beginning there was going to be opportunity to work with the executives in different board meetings. So at that time, I'm so sorry if there's background noise. At that time, I really started to get on the phone, connect with clients and figure out, what were they doing with their marketing budgets? What were they doing, with any of the budgets they had? Because a lot of companies still had to spend that money in some way, or they had special dinners. I realized that people that were with us at that time period that had come in, the same June for this event, there were those special, dinners with MGH or the hospitals that had, fellowship dinners. Like they're still going to continue that. So, I started to talk to the EAs and say, what could we do? And it became like, oh, we can go ahead and, well, we could prepare all these meals and drop them to the hospitals. And then at that point, the doctors and residents can either come pick them up at the hospital or the restaurant, or they can go ahead and, get them delivered. So it became, really a great partnership of what we could do to help, all these special dinners are always going to happen year to year. I kind of went through my triple C calendars, of course, and I was like, this client always comes on this date. They're going to have this dinner no matter what. And that kind of really helped me gauge like who I could reach out to and what was happening. You know, and talking to the EAs, they were, stressed. Like they started saying, we're doing these virtual guides of what's happening. My executives still need to have these meetings. They need to be engaging. Everyone is definitely getting, tired of all these Zoom calls. So they wound up saying, this is what we could do for executives. They were putting together virtual guides of wine tastings that, were being offered, or different, pieces that were being offered around the city. So I knew that there was this opportunity to really kind of offer our services in some way. And we're working with a couple of pharmaceutical companies. They have board dinners. We started we spent time, and this actually was a project that was so funny. It was for 25 people. They were going to do a virtual tasting. I got together with my wine reps and said, I need you to do these tastings for me. And it's a little bit of time, right? It's not just like a 5-minute thing. He's putting together these, big PowerPoint presentations that he can use, to offer and have something that's a little bit more entertaining as opposed to just a call. And then, we're like, I can offer this wine and cheese tasting. So I'm over here wrapping cheese for like 3 hours with the chef, because now, the whole management team's involved. I have a manager wood burning our logo into these wooden boxes. I'm wrapping cheese, someone else is stuffing the boxes. And I brought everything and I delivered it to this company. And from there, they were able to ship part of, most of it out to their executive team. And then they delivered with a courier. So we've developed this partnership at this point with them. And now it's, I had that event was $10,000. I hadn't seen $10,000 in a very, if it was 2019, I'm like, oh, 10,000, whatever. This was like, wow, this is the most exciting piece for me. I was so like, this is big money and this is an opportunity. And I'm pitching anything. We don't do sushi and sake, but now we do. I'm like, oh, does anyone know how to make sushi? You guys will figure it out, right? Like the chefs at this point will absolutely do anything to help make money. There's no more, the grumbling chefs or what we've had in the past. Now it's like, what about, they're coming up with ideas. I'm like, caviar and champagne and vodka tastings, whatever we can do to really just facilitate any program, any kind of virtual event with all these companies that still have to have an event. They still have executives, they still have board meetings. These meetings are still happening. So that's been one piece that I've been really like, put me in your virtual guide. And it is now reaching out to everyone that I know. And some of it is just kind of emailing collateral pieces over to, any client saying, this is what we can offer. People don't know what they can do or what you can offer until you put it in front of them. That's kind of my big piece. Like they don't know what they want to do until you're like, do you want to do this? This is great. This works for your 10 executives or for your team of 25. I'll do a chocolate tasting. I'm looking at restaurants, like our restaurant group. I'm like, we'll be the Blue Apron. Like I'll send something to 10, I'll send something to 10 of your executives and I'll put together all these boxes. And it is, I no longer have a team. It's just basically me and a couple of managers. It used to be like my assistant would do this now, but it's me wrapping that cheese for hours.
And I'll say like, I'm on the corporate planning side. Like I've been on the corporate planning side. So when you say like people don't know what they want until you tell them, like we're lazy. Yeah. Like I rely on menus to tell me like what I want. And then if I want to go outside the menu, I would like ask a question. But I think that was so smart to be like kind of brainstorm with them or just throw ideas out there and see.
And there's so many things you can do. When you really start to think about it and we're putting these collateral pieces together, I'm like, yeah, it could just be like beer and charcuterie for like the younger teams, at HubSpot or wherever, there's so many things that you can do and people want an activity. Like it's no longer like, let's just have a cocktail. They want an activity. And to have these, to have our partners that have been really great at supporting us, it means so much. And it's definitely has made it easy for me to say like, my wine rep's going to be like the wine specialist and he'll put everything together and it's easy. So.
Sure. We had a question in the chat. So somebody wants to know, please talk about how you're connecting with these clients to offer like these packages. More specifically, how are you mining your client list to see like who is a good fit to pitch these corporate experiences to?
At this point, we're all in need and it's so interesting about how my mindset has changed at this time. Before I would have been very much like, oh, I just wanted to reach these really, high tier clientele. And now I will sell anything to anyone and everyone. And I think it's just an opportunity to kind of change people's mindset about what they can do and what they can offer to their teams and to their executives and to their guests. So I just have started, I started kind of with people that I have really great relationships with. And then now I'm going, like, it's anyone, I'm talking to everyone about it. Within the restaurant, I'm on the phone on takeout. Do you need an event? What do you need? Are you having some kind of, TV thing at the house? Like, I just feel right now like it's my responsibility, considering, I know a lot of us were not employed, a lot of salespeople, events people, that they're not employed. So I feel really obligated to, like, kind of create that new channel of either virtual events or something that restaurant owners will see as a successful piece.
Definitely. And then somebody else just asked, have you found that you have to discount to make the sale?
So no, I think because a lot of the corporate planners and the EAs, they're frantic. Their people are coming to them saying, like, what are we going to do? And they're like, I just need an idea. Like, what? And I'm like, we could do this. We need this. Or they're coming back and saying, can your team do this? We don't know if you can do this. And it's not hard to make the sale. What's interesting, it's like all of the little details that go with it have been quite strenuous. Like, I participate in service and operations and running around. So I'm getting like a 10-question email from a planner at 8 a.m. saying, I need the proposal tomorrow, or end of day at 5 p.m. or tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm like, I'm actually on the floor. And so it's getting those pieces together and really kind of just executing the proposal has been a challenge for me. But pricing is definitely, they right now have more budget, right? Because they're not spending on so many people or on flowers. They're just like, I have a food and wine budget and all this additional money to use right now. So it hasn't been hard to sell.
Yeah. And let's see. I think it was great. Like, I was going to say on top of that, I think like how you started to was you were kind of just reaching out to like people you knew and like getting a pulse for like what everyone on the corporate side was doing. And then from that, you were able to kind of like work with people and pivot and kind of put together your own like plan, which I think is very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions on this topic for Lisa? I don't want to like cut anyone off.
I have a question for Lisa. Just the companies you're working with, are these more of like the large scale corporate places that they need this these events and experiences right now?
Hello. It's been all over the place, actually. I think, it's been a lot of, I thought it would be just corporate companies. So it's been a lot of, the Ropes and Grays and the Vertex, but it has been a lot of smaller companies that I think need to keep their staff engaged, and they're, I think worried about being so disconnected from either their team or their client. So it actually it's been all over the map, I would say, which we're fortunate. And I love anything that I'm doing. I'm always trying to put it on social too. So I'm like, I'm just trying to I promote our restaurants every day. I promote everything. So I think a lot of our clients are also seeing that, and they're like, oh, Lisa's doing something, like, let's reach out to her. So it's been really great that it's such a widespread.
I think Triple C needs to get in on this. I would like a cheese tasting at home delivered to me.
It's so good. It's really great.
I know Whitney in the chat was asking if you have like a photo of those cheese boards you're doing.
No. I'm like, Brian, so my social media manager's on here. I'm like, Brian, do you have it? So it's on my desk. I'm like on my work computer, but it's wooden boxes that are just, we did it with like black tissue. It's done so well, but it's just so, I had to make this, one of our managers who's very talented, she did 44 boxes, like, and it was like hours of her with this like little wood burner piece. Like she was like, oh my God, she was like, I'm never doing this again. It took her like 3 days. So it was definitely, it's beautiful. I'll send a picture and we can share it, with an email or something.
Yeah, definitely. And getting like a bunch of other questions. So are people looking for like individually packaged items, or are you doing like platters? It sounds like the individual.
They're looking at individually packaged items because you have to kind of send them to several places. So, our next one that we're sending it to, I'm actually having our driver drive all around the state. It's like 6 hours of driving. So everyone gets an individual package, and it has refrigeration instructions, like 1 hour before this, take everything out, take this out, and then this, bring everything down to room temp. So it's been very specific. I always like to give people directions. No one knows. I don't know how to do anything when I get home. I'm like, does this go in the refrigerator? So it's good to know exactly, and people want to know exactly what they should do. So it's been not anything large, because most of these corporate companies don't want to promote that they're doing 10 people together or 20 people. Like, it is all individual, and all these guests are at their homes. And now, and we're doing things that are a little bit larger. So, we're able to charge a little bit more, kind of saying like, this is for you on this tasting, but then it's also for you to share with your family after, because, our portions I feel like they're large. So we're charging like fairly high prices because it is a lot of labor, but also like it's for a family of 4. So it's not just if it's one person at home. Most people are at home with their family having this beautiful tasting, they want to share it. So that's what's worked really well.
Or like, you don't want to walk by like your roommate having like this extravagant thing and you're like, are there any leftovers or something?
Your wife or husband, they're like, are you drinking that champagne and you didn't get any for me? So
sorry, I feel like I'm missing a few of these in the chat, and then we'll move on because I know we have like a couple of other like cool things you're doing. But there was one person saying like she wished that, like her team would be like more willing to work on this stuff. So did you think it was like easier to get your team on board with like these kind of things, or it sounds like this person's culinary team was like not as enthusiastic?
It was. I think that we were all so happy and grateful to be employed. I was like, of all people, I shouldn't have a job right now. I'm in events, there's no events. So our entire team has been nothing but gracious, lovely. Our chef owner, who's usually like, he's like, sushi sake, sure, we'll figure it out. He's like, does anyone have a rice cooker? It became this like whole thing of questions. Like I think as a company, we knew we were lucky to still be, I mean, so many restaurants closed, people are unemployed. So many people aren't going to be hired back. Like our team, it was like, go sell whatever you can in this restaurant, we'll help you. So it's, we really came together as like a unit to make sure that we were able to execute it, whatever we could, whenever we can. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like an all hands on deck kind of situation. All right. And then I know we had talked before and you had mentioned doing like a partnership with Dine Out Boston. Did I get that right?
Yeah. It's okay. Restaurant week, I think, in other states, but yeah.
So do you want to like say a little bit about that?
And that's something you mentioned, and that's not like something that's so funny with our restaurant. Oh yeah. Yes, definitely. With our restaurant group, it's something that we haven't participated in years. For most of you, I think, it's like $38 or whatever the pricing is for a 3-course meal, and restaurants will offer it along with their city and, January or August when it's slower. And it's something that we haven't participated in years. It's usually not geared towards our clientele. But we realized, any promotion that we can participate in, we are. And, one of our general managers was like, why don't we have this as a takeout option? And, we can't do it. We don't want to have a bunch of people in the restaurants. We don't want it to be overcrowded. We don't want people waiting outside in line to get in. So what about a takeout option? So this actually just launched on Sunday, and it's like actually having a great response that people are like, I don't feel comfortable going into a restaurant. I have 8 people to feed at home. This is $38 for a great meal. It has been an incredible, like people are loving it. They're like, oh, it's takeout, perfect. And it's been working really well. So it's something we're not offering as an in-house promotion. So we're not within, in-restaurant dining or patio dining, but you come and you pick it up. And yesterday we saw, great numbers. It was an extra, 20 plus orders or so of people just coming in that normally wouldn't order. Our entrees kind of run like $35 to $65. So you wouldn't just normally sometimes just get that for takeout, but you'd be like, wow, $38 for a 3-course meal. Like, absolutely. That's something we would do. So we were kind of looking at different avenues that maybe we wouldn't have, explored unless this happened, but it's been helpful, these types of kind of mini promotions going on around the city.
Yeah. And then, I'm not familiar. Maybe everybody else on this call is like familiar with it, but is that also something like there's more promotion to it? So it's not like you're just having to promote your own restaurant. Like there's this whole bigger like network.
Usually promotes it. It's kind of like a big piece. It'll be in like, Eater Boston, Eater New York. Those are the pieces that are promoting it. And they put the list all together. They shoot out emails. Open Table gets involved. So it's really great that, you know, that they're helping push that. So it's been really nice, because I feel like right now is a time where you're seeing everyone just trying to promote restaurants, and I feel so happy and lucky, and you know, everyone's trying to push any restaurant's promotion. I'm not only, you know, promoting what I'm doing, I'm promoting what my friends are doing with their restaurants, and you know, what we're seeing. So it has been kind of a really great, I don't know, I think restaurants are just, you know, really kind of bonding and really getting in there together and just making sure we all survive.
Yeah. Do you do anything with like any restaurants like in your area, like around your other restaurants? Like, do you guys work together, or are there like, I think Azure, you were saying like maybe there's like a bakery. Do you work with any other kind of outlet?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw a local news story about there's a small restaurant somewhere in New York where they decided they didn't have desserts. They partnered with the bakery around the corner, and then they're offering these special like cupcake with cocktail kind of specials, and they're selling these cupcakes from the bakery. So it was kind of a nice partnership where they're helping promote this bakery, and the bakery is sending people over to them to get the drinks, the cupcakes.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's not something that it's also hard because our restaurants are like 5 feet apart. Like there's 4 of them right in the same area. So we kind of just have to promote each other, which is like literally I can walk from one to like within 5 minutes. So that's something we've been, you know, working on, but we're, you know, we're really trying to like, it's been an interesting, you know, we are still promoting the people we promoted in the past, you know, the bakery behind us, like we're always, and people are doing the same. Like they're saying like, make sure you go to Mistral and try their takeout. And I'm saying, make sure you get your coffee at Flower behind us. Like we're still, our neighborhood is doing really well, I think, to just, it was so empty. Like I remember leaving, I would have to leave every day at 6:45 when it was winter, no matter what, because it was empty. And I was scared to walk home. A lot of the homeless people, the homeless population had moved right into the city. And I was like, I have to get home before the sun sets. I was like running home. So I think we all knew how empty just our neighborhoods were in general. So everyone's being just really great about promoting each other's patio spaces and working together and just helping each other. I think it's been good. It's a good feeling, definitely.
Awesome. And then I know one of the other things you've mentioned that you're doing is partnering with like the Boston Ballet, which I think is like very cool. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, you know, and actually all of any of the arts, these are still happening, and people don't even actually like, I didn't really like think about it until I'm on the board of advisors for the Boston Ballet, and they kept, you know, saying like, well, and I kind of knew what was going on in the background. These virtual performances are just going to be virtual. We know it's now through the end of 2020. It looks like we're going into quarter 1 of 2021. So I knew kind of the background. And at that same time, the Commonwealth Shakespeare Company had approached one of our restaurants, Moo, that they usually do this beautiful, Moo is located right by the park. They do this beautiful outdoor, you know, Shakespeare performance, but they had to cancel it. But they had said, why don't we go ahead? Moo can do like they did the Tempest, so that performance. And they said, why don't we do like a menu based around Prospero's last meal? And it was like the Duke of Milan's lobsters, mac and cheese. So our chef put together this menu that was like totally themed out, and then they could order takeout, grab it from Moo, and then go home and watch the performance with their friends and family. So that worked out really well. So at that same time, I kept saying, this Boston Ballet, we have so many things coming up. Tonight's actually the performance of Carmen. You know, that's why I'm partially here on the Cape, where, you know, we're doing a projector at this country club. So I've been in discussion with the ballet saying like, what can we do? You know, a lot of the clientele's in the area. We can deliver. We can go ahead and do takeout. Like, what can we do to, you know, execute? And this is, you know, hundreds of people that are watching these performances virtually. So in turn, we're going to start, you know, kind of doing like a themed menu, and then start promoting it. And they're going to shoot it out to all of their people and their client list. And at that time, say, Mistral is doing this menu, or Sterling is offering this menu. And then, you know, start kind of executing the takeout orders and telling us like how, you know, who so-and-so needs this. And this is also part of, you know, being on the advisory board, and then the trustees, like we're doing like little things at each other's houses where it's like 6 or 8 of us are getting together and we'll order takeout from my restaurant, because I'm the only restaurant person on this board. So it's been kind of a really great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to be top of mind. But we've been lucky to have that. But this is in every city. This is like the ballet is everywhere. So this is like a great opportunity to get in front of someone and say like, we would love to do a themed out, we can deliver, we can do takeout, we can drop off, a catering meal for 10 people that are watching the performance together at someone's house. So it's definitely, it's been great.
I think that's so creative, and I think it's so smart to, like you said, like I wouldn't have even thought like, oh, they're doing like virtual like ballet, I don't, whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
virtual ballets or like virtual events or like live streams of things. Like, why can't you work with them? Maybe create a menu, create a special, and then like basically they're doing all of the marketing for you. They're like, they're watching my thing. Why don't you order food from here? Which is, yeah, I think that's just.
It's just like that kind of that extra marketing piece that I'm like, oh, well, you're going to shoot this out to your client list of hundreds of probably thousands of people that like are in this area around the restaurant. So it's keeping those partnerships and really kind of thinking outside of the box.
Yeah. And then like, I know you're on the board, but do you have any advice for somebody? Like, how would somebody like reach out to say that? Like, just go to the website or find.
So the websites for the ballets and any of these kind of arts organizations are always listed. It's the board necessarily is not, I always have been in contact, I think with organizations, you always have to get to know the staff, right? It's like you can be on this board, but I know the director of development, the chief of staff, like they're all my friends. So I kind of knew who to reach out to, but all of these titles and these teams are all listed on their website. Like their information's there. They want you to reach out, right? They want you to join the ballet or they want you to be a sponsor. So you can reach out. This was the director of sponsorships that I'm working with, as well as the chief of staff. So this is listed. Like I've looked at other websites and I'm like, oh, the information is right here. In every city, like every arts organization, the museums, the museums are all live streaming all of these, they're still doing auctions. I started to look into this. I was like, there's auctions still happening. They're still doing events, private events, and they're doing them from homes now. This is like definitely a way to get in front of your guests and deliver meals of 10 or do catering.
Right. I know we had like a question that somebody like wrote in as they registered. So somebody had asked like, has offering catering offsite brought in additional business like for you personally? Is that something else that you guys are doing?
So this is, I necessarily don't want my team to be in someone's house, but what I just did for a friend, and we're doing it for a couple of more kind of regulars and friends, is doing kind of these large format meals. So, my friend Martine, her husband's 40th birthday was happening. She wanted to have, a bunch of people over to her roof deck. It was like 8 couples, but she wanted to have a proper meal. They love to eat. They love our restaurants. So I decided like, what can I do to kind of make these pieces, special? So our chef put together, it was like paella that they wanted and all these meals. So they came in these large containers. And I literally was like, I'll make the menu cards, I'll do place cards, I'll do whatever it is, just to add these special touches that were free. And then I did all the reheating directions. So I sat with the chef and I said, Martine doesn't cook. If it like speak to her like you were like it was me, like I don't cook, like how would I reheat this well so I wouldn't burn anything? So he was like, okay, put foil on this container, warm it this. Like it was so specific, and it was like this sheet that I made it really pretty and attractive and had all these really very specific directions that she was like, oh wow, it was so easy for her to reheat. That way it's, I don't feel comfortable. I'm like I feel like I've been more cautious probably, but I don't want my staff going to someone's house just yet, unless it's outdoors. But it was like indoors on our roof deck still, but you'd have to cook. It was like a thing. So I was like, okay. But she loved it. It worked out well. And now it was like this kind of framework we know works well, these kind of large format meals with these very specific directions with menu cards and place cards. And, I was even like, did you want me to bring over some like show plates from the restaurant, any like silverware or glassware? Like we could, dress up your table, like just the things for the regulars that that will return the items. You don't want to like just do it, I think, for any client, but just people that we know. I'm like, we have these beautiful show plates, like this is what we can do. Just to add those special touches, just kind of in that way, thanking them for bringing us the business.
Definitely. And then I know somebody put this in the chat earlier, so I guess I'll go back to it. They're asking how everyone's wrapping the price of like individually packaged items without like increasing the price too much. Do you have any tips on that?
what we did for this particular group though, it was so intense because you kind of have to think about it. It's like the labor, the pricing is like structure. Can't even, it was insane. But you know, we're not doing discounted rates. When we were doing takeout, the chef owner was like, you're not getting this on white china, you're not getting service. So he was like doing $5 to $10 off price. Definitely was. But you know, for these kind of meal, I think it all depends. Like I had to be very structured about pricing everything. It was even to the cost of like the tissue paper. Like I want to make sure we weren't wasting money or the restaurant's not paying. So it was, I'm like, this jar costs this much. It's going to cost this much for shipping. At that point I said, you know, I'm going to include, if I have to take an Uber, I spent, you know, $50 in Uber. I'm like, I know I have to include that for next time. So I actually was like, it was like spreadsheet after spreadsheet, breaking it down. The food cost was, you know, up to the chef. We didn't mark everything up to the normal pricing that we normally would have. You know, that went for the wine, that went for everything, because at this time I was just happy for the business. And we know, now I know the level of work. Now it's like I have the template to kind of execute it. So it was a lot of work for this one particular event. And now we have like 4 more booked with them. So I'm like, oh my goodness.
Perfect. Yeah.
But I'm literally like going to have, you know, the School of Hospitality at Boston University is great. They sent me this intern for SERV. I'm like, do you know how to use a wood burner? I need you here next week. So she's just going to get a head start in all these boxes because it's such a process. Then the box company, of course, is like, we're back, you know, this is all back ordered until September. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So I've had to look at other resources and get other boxes, but it is, you know, we're not charging, you know, you kind of charge what you can, but we're not charging this giant markup that we did before because I'm just trying to get the business as much as I can. But I do have to say these corporate companies are like, we have the money, you know, we're no longer spending it on all these additional like hotel expenses because no one can meet in person. So think about that allocation they still have to spend. And that was also something I was like, do you need gift cards like for the future? Like, you know, anything you need, like maybe gift card for a client for the future, like they can use it on takeout. And they're like, oh, really? So we had a lot of clients do that, or say we have this marketing budget. I have to spend it still. Like, can I buy a $2,000 gift card? I'm like, absolutely. We'll throw in something extra for you. Like it's been this kind of, I'm just kind of receiving and just helping and doing whatever I can to make them happy, but for also just feeling kind of lucky to have it.
Yeah. And then I'll open it up to the group. Does anybody have any questions for Lisa about what she's been doing or just things you're curious about? I feel like I take up a lot of the real estate here, the question. And if you're shy, you can type them. I'll read them out.
Rachel, we've got a couple that came in on the bottom, it looks like. The COVID fees one.
Oh yeah, okay. So when dining at other restaurants in Boston, Maura has seen COVID fees on the bill. Do you guys do that or have you seen that?
We're not doing that. And we definitely have gone like way overboard with the protection, you know, at our restaurant group. All of the silverware is, you know, individually packaged in these plastic sleeves with our stickered logo. Like we have gone to the extreme. Like I go out to eat and I'm like, people aren't even wearing, you know, I was at a restaurant last week and the kitchen was an open kitchen and the chefs were wearing masks. I'm like,
I saw that too at a place that I went to.
I was, and I couldn't say anything. We're with a friend and she was newly pregnant. I'm like, if I see something, they're going to freak out. So I was just like, I couldn't stop staring. So I know, you know, our owners, like, we just want to make sure people feel safe. We're happy to have everyone in. We're not, you know, adding any fees or anything in just because like right now we're absorbing all those costs. And it's at the beginning of this, like I was like the takeout queen, the sanitation lady. Like I was running around, like I kept saying, we're going to run out of sanitizer. The country's going to run out of sanitizer. And at one point I'm like, we don't have any. I had my hair salon making, you know, I'm calling my nail salon. They're like, we have my hair salon made like so much for us. So, you know, it is expensive, but right now we're absorbing the fees. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. We're just taking it as like, we just want to be as cautious as possible. You know, all the policies and procedures we put in place, like we just want people to feel safe. What we hear now, and we have a lot of older clients, like the 70-year-old demographic, which I find to be very weird that they're out. they're in our restaurants and they're eating because it's so secure, so safe. We have dividers and just the extra, you just feel secure. I actually had dinner at one of my restaurants, like after the whole patio piece, I'm like, oh my goodness, I hadn't sat down in one of my restaurants in months. And, our director of ops was like, let's check on service. I'm like, this is so safe. You just feel safe. You felt secure. I felt everything was so clean. It was pristine. It made me, no one ever walked by me with these like directional, aisles. It was just like, yeah, I kind of feel like that we owe that to our guests right now to make sure that I'm just happy to have guests dining indoors.
Like happy to be able to dine anywhere. Like I was so excited, like the second we could all go out places.
Right? Me too.
So
and I'm still like, I'm just happy that restaurants are like open again.
Right? That's so nice. It is like a treat to like go out to a restaurant now, which is so funny.
Yeah, definitely.
And then another question, has anyone used federal grants or local monies from nonprofit organizations to assist in these costs associated with COVID? Have you been doing that or not really?
No, I don't know. Yeah, no, we have not. Our restaurant group has not. I don't actually know much about that as well, but does anyone else know that answer?
See a lot of head shaking now.
Yeah, good question, but no clue.
And then I know you have like your group SERV and you guys have like a big network. So I think we have people on this call from all over. What kind of things can people be doing to like build their network and like create partnerships like you've been doing? Like what you just said about going to your hairdresser to get stuff.
It's so interesting. I like to talk. We really kind of been asking other either colleagues or anyone, what are you guys doing? Like what are you doing for sanitation? Like I found this weird glove contact after like a weird, I was like, my hair salon again, the hair salon apparently is like the place where they have everything. But to me, it's really about keeping in touch. And I think that's the most important part. And it's been hard because I'm trying to keep in touch with clients. I'm trying to keep in touch with other restaurant people and other planners and then also just get to work and make it through the day. Like my challenge is I get into work. I'm also the reservations person. So those phones are ringing. It's like me and the guests are like, is this Lisa Flores? Why are you answering the phone? I'm like, I now do everything. And having that constant like client communication, it's like, I'm like, oh, hi, so-and-so. Like, what have you guys been doing? Are you having I am talking to everyone. I'm kind of picking their brain and I'm pitching to them what we're doing. They're telling me what they're doing. Definitely being on the phones has helped because I'm engaging with the clients all the time. And I'm saying on this day, we're opening back up and, the people that order takeout with us frequently, I'm like, hi, Mark, do you want Pellegrino with your order? Like, I know what they need and what they want. I know where they live. I know what their dog needs. Like, I know it's just communicating. I feel like it's been and it is, I have to say for those of us who are like in the office or in the restaurant every day, it is taxing. But I'm like on it every day and I'm talking and I'm doing it. And, from when I get into that office till at night and, running food out to cars. So I'm like, hi, it's to our regulars that want to see the faces they know. And sometimes they don't want to come into the restaurant. They don't feel comfortable yet. And it's all about people's comfort zones, but I definitely like chit-chatting, talking, a lot of, notes. When we were doing takeout at the beginning, any of our friends and our clients that I knew, they got a handwritten note from me and it said, thank you so much for, thinking of us for your special celebration. Thank you for whatever. And anyone that I knew that was following me on social media or our restaurant's channels were tagging us in that. So it was like great because everyone was seeing everything. And just trying to promote things via social media, reaching out to people and just doing like kind of the check-in. The check-in I think is just a nice thing. I've had so many people reach out to say like, how are you doing? Like, how is your mental health? Like we all know we're in this like kind of crazy position right now. And, with our SERV network, especially with that, I've kind of said, send your resume. Do you want me to look at your LinkedIn? Some of the jobs pieces that I've seen coming through, especially in Boston, I'm like sending out to people that I know they know they've been permanently terminated from their position. So just any of that, but it's been a crazy time.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when we had to cancel all of our events and stuff, a lot of people like at Triple C would be like chatting me and being like, "Are you okay? How's it all going?" And I thought that was just like so sweet because I wasn't thinking anybody was thinking about me at the time. So I think it's always nice when like people can reach out and just check in. And
Definitely.
does anybody else have any questions?
I wanted to share something that that actually sort of fell into our laps that now we're trying to replicate, but that others might want to explore. A neighborhood association reached out to us and asked if we would do a dinner delivery to them. And so we agreed to do that. And so the deal was just as long as we would deliver it to the neighborhood, they would source the orders for us. So we actually wound up getting 45 dinner orders out of this ask, and that was great. So we're trying to find more groups like this, but until they reached out, it was kind of a clientele we hadn't specifically thought about reaching out to. So I thought I would just mention that because it turned out to be great for us, great marketing, great revenue day. So we are definitely trying to find more neighborhood associations to pitch this to.
That's awesome. That's like so cool. So they just had like a menu taker for the entire neighborhood and they like sent you what everybody wanted. Is that how it works?
So we do nightly dinners. So we have it's portioned per person and priced per person, but we have one menu per night at this. I work for 2 restaurants, so the one that we did this with. So we just have one meal that evening. We have a vegetarian alternative, but there's not like a full menu to choose from. It's pretty much an opt-in or opt-out experience, but you can do add-ons like wine or beer or a dessert, or you can opt for vegetarian. So we just had people contact us directly and tell us they were with this group, and we just tallied them all up, and then our owner actually delivered them door to door, which they loved.
Oh,
Yeah,
People love that familiar face. They love it.
yeah,
sure.
We did that in Nashville. We started that in April. Also in Jackson, Mississippi, we have 16 restaurants between our whole group. And the way to get those neighborhoods is to literally join every Facebook homeowners association, or find that person who is the president of the homeowners association, because that was how we found our biggest success. And what we would do is have them post on their page that, whichever one of our restaurants in Nashville was coming on the specific date. And then they had to get their orders into us by 1 o'clock. And us as the sales managers, we took all of their orders. It was off the full menu. So it was quite a bit of planning and putting together on the front end. But then, we do probably 50, 60 dinners a night. We do that for multiple restaurants. So definitely, after doing all the Facebook stuff, I was literally like, I hate Facebook. And I'm so glad that I am not on social media and marketing, because I don't know how these people do it every day. But that was kind of our biggest success. The other thing that we've done is find a lot of organizations that are wanting to donate meals to the frontline workers. We've done that quite a bit. So even like corporate clients who are like, hey, we're Bridgestone and we want to do 400 meals to these 3 hospitals, and they'd pay for it. So you got to do a lot of digging to find those. And a lot of them aren't doing them anymore that were doing them in the beginning. But we, last week, we delivered to all the assessment areas. Our convention and visitors corp is the one who paid for it, but we delivered 427 meals, which is like $5,200 in sales, to all the assessment centers. It's like, these people have to eat too. They're just doing their job. And so that's definitely something to look into. It was successful for us.
Yeah, there's an organization called Off Their Plate. So that's one that I think they're pairing with chefs and then different like hospitals to feed them. The budget's not huge. It's usually like, I think $10 to $12 a meal, but a lot of these restaurants are doing it. I think it's a great idea and absolutely like whatever you can do at this point.
Right. Sales are sales.
That's exactly how I feel.
Is anyone else doing anything that they want to share or have seen things like that? No, that's okay.
I'm in a little bit. Hi, I'm Tanya from Charleston. This is my first group meeting, and sorry to be in and out a little bit. Chef's doing a tasting as we're speaking, so he keeps calling me out. But collaboration has been key for me. Most of our events cleared off, but there was a drive-in movie that started locally several weekends. They did a series of about 4 weekends, and we took our online ordering platform and sped it up and jumped on board for, it was 2 nights for 4 weekends in a row, and netted about $3,000 in sales, which was better than nothing. Designed some quick different menus than what we normally offered that could be produced in the middle of a field under a tent, and just really looking to collaborate everywhere we can with those type of events to sell some food.
Definitely. And I think I haven't been to one yet, but I love the idea that like the drive-in like things coming back. Like I'm all for it. And with a better meal too than like just popcorn, I'd be all on board with that too.
Totally.
All right. Any other questions or anything anybody wants to share? Well, if not, I have a poll for everybody just because I'm like curious and I like to see what everyone's doing. So I just want to know, how's everyone doing with like their private events? Like what kind of leads are you getting? Have you hosted an event yet? And like what the largest one you've hosted has been? All right, we'll give it a few more seconds. All right, cool. So it looks like a lot of people on the call are doing mostly social events, and a lot of you have hosted an event yet, which is great. And a lot of them are still under 25 people, which I think makes the most sense, right? Okay, and then I have one more poll for you guys before we go. But Lisa, thank you so much for joining us and sharing. I think it's so interesting, all the stuff that you guys have been doing, and it's so great to get to talk to you and hear all about it. And yeah, I'm so happy a lot of it's been going good.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see so many faces, and please, if anyone wants to reach out to me, let me know. For any of the New Yorkers or the Boston community on this call, we are doing a free serve membership until February 2021. And that's just to help, it's really to help if you need help on your LinkedIn or promoting any restaurant stuff you're doing, or need me to look at your resume, please feel free to reach out. We just want to help everyone get back on their feet as soon as possible.
Awesome. All right, well, I asked you guys if you knew that we have all these other kind of community resources. So Triple C does have a podcast, and I think Azure put the link in our chat. So if you guys want to listen, I think they have about like 18 or 19 episodes up now. It comes out every Friday. It's called 2 Chicks, 3 Seats. A lot of good information. I think Whitney, who's on this call, was on it, a guest once. Yeah, there we go. And we also have a Facebook event manager community, which is like a great space to, share ideas, ask questions. It's like maybe you can't wait 2 weeks for these social hours and you have a quick question you just want to get feedback on, like post it in that group. Like we just want to make it an interactive place where everyone can kind of get quick answers or see what everyone else is doing.
I put the link to that in the chat too. It's called Event Manager Community.
Awesome. And we'll send out an email too after this, just so everyone has all these resources. And then for our next social hour, we do it every 2 weeks, but it's going to be Labor Day weekend. So we're going to skip it and we'll do it September 10th. We're going to have an expert, Katie Perkins, on, and she's an expert in like redesigning space. So I think she's going to talk about how to make your restaurant rearrange for maximum seating and what you can do to make it safer for COVID, especially as we move into these like colder months and maybe outdoor dining won't be available to some of us. So look out for that. And I think that's all I got, guys. So thank you all so much for joining us. We love hosting you guys, and we hope to see you next time.
Great to see you
Thank
guys.
you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
So much. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.